King Solomon, in his epic Song of Songs, crystallizes the essence of marriage. I am to my beloved, and my beloved to me. This expression is the intensity of a loving relationship between a husband and a wife, and between man and God. Marriage is sacred. How do you keep your marriage sacred and with that intense love you felt under the chuppah? There are factors that bridge and break a marriage. In a wedding ceremony, the Hebrew word for wedding ceremony is kiddushin. That comes from the root kadosh, and kadosh means holy. Marriage is holy. When we understand this blessing, then we can begin the love and commitment to one another with sheer pleasure, as Jacob did for Rachel. Do you remember that love and passion you felt for each other? Love is a powerful source. Jacob's love for Rachel was not just passion, it was true love. The Torah says, "And Jacob worked for Rachel 7 years, and in his eyes, as a few days, in his absolute love for her." Jacob realized that whatever issue came between them, his loyalty and love for Rachel allowed him to approach anything with ease. All marriages have conflicts. How we navigate them, how we negotiate these conflicts will bring us closer together and have a stronger bond with each other. There is a saying, the sooner you fall in love with struggles, the more successful you will be. My goal in this workshop is to create a successful marriage. This workshop is entitled The 6 C's of Conflict Resolution. Once we know how to negotiate whatever struggles we have, our bond will become stronger and our loving relationship, as Yaakov and Rochelle had, will be solid. So the 6 C's of conflict resolutions are: calm yourself, companionship, choose your battles, prioritize, communication, complete problem solving, and most important, consider your blessings. The first C is calm yourself. The first part of this is focus on loyalty. If you focus on loyalty, it will avoid those cycles of resentment and hurt that we feel towards each other sometimes, and we'll understand that what we are committed to is the marriage. Externalize the situation. Listen to what your husband or your wife, your spouse is saying, and more important, what are they feeling? An example of externalizing is, let's say I'm walking down the street and I'm in a wonderful mood and I say good morning to someone, and they turn around, they start yelling at me. If I internalize it, I will say, why are they yelling at me, and become angry. But if I externalize it, I look at the other person and say, what's bothering them? So it starts from anger when you internalize to compassion when you externalize. The opposite of anger is compassion. And that's my goal for marriage. Behavior is circular. So if a spouse is angry and the other spouse responds with anger, a fight will ensue. However, if a spouse is angry and you respond with a kind word, you will disrupt the cycle into a positive way, and a conversation will result. Connect thoughts with feelings. If you think your spouse is mean, no matter what they say, you will respond with anger. But if you think your spouse is struggling with a situation, externalizing it, you will have compassion for that spouse. Again, the opposite of anger is compassion. Use self-talk. Self-talk evolves when we recognize what we say to ourselves and what we think is connected to how we feel and behave. When you're able to handle intense feelings, that will benefit you. because it will allow you to think clearly and it will allow you to tolerate frustrations. Label the situation and not the spouse. Yaakov understood that he needed to work 7 years for Rachel. He labeled the situation, but his absolute love for Rachel was something that he was able to do. So he labeled the situation and not her. The second C, companionship. Marriage is a team. In Genesis it says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they will become one flesh." Under the chuppah, 1 + 1 = 1. Spend 15 minutes a day with your spouse. Time together is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When you find that moment to just sit and talk with your spouse, you will uncover lots of things that won't escalate into an argument. Also, if there are children and they see their mother and their father talking with each other, A, they will feel safe, and B, you've taught them how to deal in relationships in their future. The next, date, date, date. Find that time to just go out with your spouse and have fun. And my favorite is respect. Give your spouse what they need, not what you think they need. So for example, if let's say your spouse likes to get a birthday present and you think it's ludicrous, you buy the present on his or her birthday. But let's say you find that you don't need a present on your birthday, then your wife or your husband will understand that that's not important. Give your spouse what they need, not what you think that they need. Number 3, choose your battles. Prioritize. Negotiate your conflicts. Focus on one issue that affects the marriage and let everything else go. Prioritize. Think about it. If you had 3 wishes, which problems would you solve? Which problems are disruptive? And which ones can you let go? Intense feelings can get in the way of handling a situation. If you're able to manage those intense feelings, you will begin to negotiate and work on a situation with your spouse with respect and support. Always try, and sometimes it's difficult, but always try to set a positive tone. So how do you negotiate? How do you negotiate a situation? The first thing you do is you hear your spouse. You understand what they're saying. Then you validate that spouse. That spouse has to know that you love them. You may not agree with them, but you love them. Then agree or disagree. When the spouse understands that it's about the situation and not themselves, you will be able to problem solve together. And always, always, always look at your spouse. Eye contact is nonverbal behavior which says, I value you. So whenever you look at your spouse, always remember that they are understanding that nonverbal behavior. The 4th C, communication. What I find most in my office and the most compelling issue that I find that disrupts marriage is lack of communication. Whether you're in agreement or in a disagreement, again, as I said before, your spouse has to feel validated. There's a saying, a gentle answer appeases anger, while a vexing word aggravates wrath. A gentle answer really sometimes is all that spouse needs. The following examples are the art of communication. What's a do for listening? Remain calm, reflective listening, paraphrase, say back what you heard if you really didn't understand. Again, good eye contact. What's a don't for listening? Don't interrupt, don't give advice, don't get defensive, and never change the subject. What's a do for speaking? Wait for an opportune time to speak when both of you are calm. Use I messages. I feel, I think, I believe. If you say you, that spouse will become defensive and they won't hear what you have to say. Be as brief as you can, and again, label the situation, not the spouse. What's a don't for speaking? Don't lecture. The fifth C, complete problem solving. How do you problem solve together? Once you both understand that you really do love each other. You may not agree with each other, but that solid foundation is there. The first thing you do is you have to know the problem. You state it calmly and take your spouse's perspective. Try to put yourself in their shoes and understand why they feel that way. Perspective taking is really respect. Understand your spouse's point of view. If a spouse has the freedom to say what all their feelings without fear, then they know their partner is really hearing them. The final C, and I think important, is really to consider your blessings. See your glass half full instead of half empty. Try to remember and think about all your spouse's special qualities. What brought you to the chuppah? What were those qualities about your spouse that brought you there? Maintain that love connection. It's fine and important to date once in a while. Just have fun. True giving comes from contributing meaningfully to your spouse. In Kohelet it says, when a marriage is a labor of love with mutual giving, a couple's union is greater than the sum of its parts. Ahava means love. The root of ahava is hav, is to give. If you give, you love. Marriage is an eternal and holy bond. And as I said before, that marriage ceremony, the Hebrew word for it is called kiddushin, and the root is kadosh. Marriage is kadosh. When one understands this blessing, then one could begin the love and commitment to one another with sheer pleasure, as Jacob did for Rachel. Again, in a relationship, one's individuality should be nurtured. Two halves make two halves. Two whole, loving people make a great relationship. I have a little excerpt that I found that kind of says it all. And it says, if you respect me, I will hear you. If you listen to me, I will feel understood. If you understand me, I will feel appreciated. If you appreciate me, I will know you support me. If you support me, I will be responsible in all of my endeavors. And when I am responsible, I will be independent and very connected to you. If I am independent, I will respect you and I will love you all my life. Love will evolve.